Hello everybody, how is it going? Welcome to the stream. If anybody is wondering why I'm late, I was looking for some form of credit card style device so I could apply some solder paste. Hello Mark and Emma, how's it going? It's from an old SIM card, the card I got in the end, but I'll just scribble off the number in the barcode, I suppose. Hello Photocrocs, Henrik, Maiko, Rotor, and whoever else is here. Yeah, so my Flex-C-Friend version 1.1 board arrived. My parts order from LCSC didn't arrive yet, but I was making an order from Farnell for something else, and I just bought some of these as well. It was 4 cents to get 10 100k resistors. So I bought it with something else, another USB-C power delivery board, the Cypress one. I don't think this will be particularly good for this use case either, but I think it will make an interesting video to look at a few of them. And yeah, so I bought that board, which was like €25, and I bought the resistors, and the resistors came in by a separate courier to the other thing. So I bought them on, like, I don't know, a Monday morning or something, and they arrived on the Tuesday morning, so the following day, but both by separate couriers. So DHL delivered me this 4 cents of components, while a separate carrier delivered me this. So I thought that was kind of weird. I've got an interesting question for the more knowledgeable about things than me. So this is my IP2721 based Flex-C-Friend doing power delivery, and this is almost identical to the reference diagram they provide in the documentation. Like, literally everything they have, I have. But the problem is that all the other USB-C boards implement ESD protection, including, like, I came across a version of the base one that we were looking at originally, this one here, doesn't contain any ESD stuff. It just basically has the same parts that I do. But there's a fancier version of it that does contain ESD stuff, and I need to figure out at some stage what exactly do I need to get. So I'm pretty sure I need to get like TVS diodes, but I kind of don't know what I'm looking for on LCSC. Like, as in, I could take the reference ones from the ST USB ones, but they're relatively expensive. Like, they're 40 cents or something, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it would make it like pretty much, it'd make it the second most expensive component on this board. Well, maybe the XT60 connectors are more, but yeah, do you know what I mean? Like, as in, it just and I'm sure there is an equivalent one from LCSC or whatever. So is the no, it's not the STM32 one. It's actually another It's an IP2721, but it's just a fancier IP2721. So you can see here, like that's clearly some form of large diode, and you can see there's smaller diodes as well. So this has some protection for sure. STM micro 2 times speed. Okay, yeah, I'd be interested in seeing that. Yeah, so like the documentation I found, it's all like, this is, why you should do this, and this is grand. That's fine, but it's really like specific. So it's like TI have a documentation. It's like, you should implement ESD protection. For example, you should use this. It's not like, here is what you're looking for in a diode. It's like, here's our diode that you should use. Do you know what I mean? Apparently USB-C power delivery is relatively sensitive to ESD, so that is why I probably need to do it. Hello, Benrico. Welcome to the first time joining the stream. No, that's annoying. Oh. It didn't like your URL for me. Maybe it sounds like my wife is using. It's like she's baking a cake or something. She's using a mixer. That's weird. Yeah, like, look, I understand why they would do it that way, but yeah, just wasn't. So I'm opening up actual YouTube to click on your link, Mark. Okay, I got your link. Okay, I'm going to save that for later somehow. Watch later. Yes. Okay, it's saved to watch later. Thank you for the link. Yeah, Sian with his ES. Yeah, like, to be honest, I don't know. Like, I don't have it on this board, but I'm nervous about this product, right? Because there's so many different variables that, like, maybe my chargers are all fine, but somebody else has one that causes more static, and it's going to be a relatively expensive product plugged into a relatively expensive soldering iron. So you don't want any problems. So if there's a few couple of cents worth of extra components that we could add on, like, maybe that's the way to go. Do you know what I mean? Thank you, Mark. I will Telegram message that to myself to look at it later. Right. Okay, that's good info. So I just kind of want that to be like in the back of people's minds. So if they can think of stuff, that's good. Now, the next thing on our agenda is assembling this guy. So I actually remembered to buy a stencil this time. Which is good. But now I have to learn how to use a stencil, which is bad. Am I a WhatsApp user? Kind of, I would say semi-reluctantly. I use WhatsApp because everybody uses WhatsApp, but I prefer Telegram for sure. Yeah, ESD in the PDCC lines, and um, I think also for the main VCC line. I'm not 100% sure on that. Yeah, exactly, John. Like this is meant to be a product, right? So like ESD stuff is important. What's app? What's that? I've never used Signal, Benrico. I don't really use Telegram for any security point of view. Like I'm not a huge fan of Facebook or anything, but like, is Telegram any safer than Facebook? I don't know. I probably not. I just think it's a much better app. Like even like I just love bot support. I think that's super nice. Hello Clem, how's it going? Okay, so the first thing I was going to do was I was going to tape this down to my desk. Does that seem like a good idea? Using electrical insulating tape that GLC provided me in my last Telegram doesn't have lots of security issues. It has one, I guess. So it doesn't enable end-to-end encryption by default, which is one stick people use to beat it with. But I actually amn't overly bothered about that, because I love being able to get the same messages on my phone as my desktop straight away. But yeah, then the other potential issue with Telegram is they roll their own encryption, which is generally accepted as being a no-no. But I don't really know enough about security things to give an opinion on whether that's good or bad or indifferent or whatever. So if people are coming to me for security talks, you're coming to the wrong place, I think. I don't have any dropped frames or anything in my OBS, so hopefully it'll kind of sort itself out, or maybe refresh the page. Yeah, like I just wouldn't send that private of information on Telegram, so I'm not too worried about it. I don't know. I love the app. I think the app is amazing. Like some of the features that it's had for a long time, I think are just great. Mainly love GIFs. The GIF support on that has been so good. WhatsApp has caught up on it a bit, but yeah. I suppose this probably isn't the best. It should be flatter, right? Seeing as I'm meant to be putting my stencil down on it. Why is my wife baking? I don't understand. Right, so... And then I love bots, yeah. The bots are the best. That doesn't look too bad to me. I don't have anything for lining it up other than the actual holes that came with it. I really should have broken off some tape before I got to this point. Yeah, I think For me, anyways, like, so the Great Irish Bake Off. Maybe she has entered an Irish Bake Off that I don't know about. For me, the people I talk to the most, I talk to on Telegram. But every now and again, like, it pops up like, oh, this person has joined Telegram, and I always assume that they're after getting into cryptocurrency. Like, if you're just a normal user and using Telegram, yeah, I was just about to say, Azzy, you're either into cryptocurrency or you're probably a furry. So that seems to be the main demographic of use cases, which, you know, is fine. No problems with that. I'm not really either. I've dabbled with one. I'll let you guess which one. That doesn't seem too bad. She could be live streaming the bacon. Oh, she's not. Do you know what it is? It's not. Can you hear that? It's not baking. It's sewing. It's the sewing machine. So, I don't know if I've mentioned this. I don't have a clue what I'm doing here. So, I'm after taping some stuff to some things, and now I have a little slot here. And it seems to relatively well line up. So I'm gonna try. Have I used stencils before? I think I tried to use it once before and it didn't work out well. It looks okay. I don't think it's perfectly lined up, but I don't think it's gonna matter a huge amount. Sewing machine has no fancy things in it. Right, I still didn't buy any newer solder paste, so I guess will I flux the... I'll kind of pre-mix it on the stencil. Hello Gerald, how's it going? You tried to copy... I don't think Sion would like to be associated with whatever's going on here. No. Lion dog hybrid. In my current thing, on my current view, like, I can't see people's images nearly at all. Like yours, Azzy, I see a little bit of green, and that's nearly about all I can see. Prepare sim brine. What am I doing? That's too much paste. Okay, well, let's just... Okay. No. I was hoping to kind of mix it up a little bit before we... Doesn't seem like it was that too much of paste. Okay, so we got a little bit of flux going here. Yes, more paste. Alex says more paste. Okay, let's... Okay, we got a little bit of flux going here. Let's see how it goes. It's always too much. Just spread it. Okay. That doesn't look too bad. I have a good bit left over. So I remember somebody saying before that you should just do it in one pass. Like, because if I go cleaning it up now, I might lift it off. So what do you think? Do I just lift it? Or should I try scrape it clean a bit? It's pretty dry. It's very expired. It's nearly 2 years out of date. One pass. One pass is safe. So I just lift it now? Greg DeVille, I am not, or Davil, or however you pronounce it. I don't know where to put this. Okay, so I'm just going to hinge it open. Alex says lift. I trust his abilities. Do you know what, guys? I think it's too thick. I mightn't have held it down enough, but it doesn't look bad. It really doesn't look bad. Let me get you a bit more focused. Why aren't you working? That looks alright, doesn't it? Thanks, Benrico. I have notifications shut off at the moment. I mean, that looks pretty good. I'll take that. Make an image for Twitter. Yeah, I got to. My phone has this like super macro mode as well. So let me just lift up the stencil. No, I'll leave the stencil there. It's fine. Probably paste in my desk at the moment. Okay, let's see. Super macro mode. Oh, the camera is or the light is kind of getting in my way. Guys, I have to say, this isn't bad. I wonder, can I show you what I'm seeing on the... Move my stupid head out of the way. Hey, that's pretty good. Okay, guys, so that's the secret. We need to, yeah, I think I need to press down a little bit harder. But the secret is that you need to just let your paste expire by about 2 years. Then haphazardly put thing on it. Okay. I feel like I should leave this here though, because I might need to do another one. So I guess I might just move a little bit to the right. Plop. Okay. I really miss having 2 desks. But we'll age your yes, like a fine wine. The secret ingredient is crime. Okay, so I guess let's start placing components. I forget what they are though. This is why you label your components, I guess, folks. I think that's a cap, but I better double check that. And I'm pretty sure the one on the left is the 100k. Yeah, it is. No, we're good. We're good. Okay. I'm gonna try pull you as close to the edge as I can. Tri-edged. It was a very good year. I'm trying to... The spring is too much. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, still think we should start with the smallest stuff, or should we work up or something? I feel like a little bit of blue tack wouldn't hurt either. Just to stop moving around while I'm trying to place things. You need to keep the bit of board. They didn't send me a bit of board this time around, John. Maybe I ordered it too small. Like, I do have some other stencils, and they sent me like a piece of board with it. I own an oven, Pete, but I've never modded it, so I'm just going to use the reflow gun that we used the last time. Okay, so I guess we'll just start with the small things and work our way along. Do I have a pick and place machine? A secret one. I do not. And after seeing all of Sion's adventures with one, I don't know if I ever want one either. I might just let Maker Fabs be my pick and place machine. Although my resistors did come on paper tape, so should be compatible with charm highs. Except paper tape also didn't work for Sion. So yeah. Oh, yes. You're so small. You're so small. Close enough. Bit smudgy. But it's in. One down. Chum fry. Yeah. It is 0402. Yeah. When you're designing something and you're like, ah, sure, I'm going to get it manufactured by somebody else. You're like, oh, sure, I may as well use 0402. But then you remember that you need to build the prototype. So, fancy tweezers. My poor fancy tweezers. If you're not familiar with my fancy tweezers, they're just they're not well, they're gold, so I guess you could say they're fancy, but they're not particularly expensive. They're just from LCSC. LCSC charge you like a few dollars if they charge you a few dollars if you don't spend $15 with them. Hello, James. With the aged paste, yeah, exactly. It's like those, you know, the way people make coffee with gold spoons or some crap. Yeah, so yeah, LCSC charge you like $3 if you're below $15 as a payment processing fee, and I think these are like $2. So you get to save that $3 and get yourself a fancy tweezers all in one go. Oh, sugar. Made an error of that one. Now I've got the shakes. Okay. Reverse pink tags. There wouldn't be too many things that they don't charge you more for because because it's for a girl or whatever. Okay. Ah. Damn, it's stuck to my tweezers. Fancy tweezers has let me down. Right, where is my... alcohol? I also forgot to add my dumb head back in. Yeah, back on the whiskey. I think this resistor is just going to be sacrificed, or this cap is just going to be sacrificed to the gods. I'm gonna swim with the rest of his buddies. Do you want to see my dumb face again? No, I'm not. The 0.1 of a cent part. Not a hope. Still have the shakes though, so that's good. Hope there's enough paste left there now to do what it needs to do. Just 2 more 0402s. Hey Tony, how's it going? Yeah. Do with a few alignment holes on the 0402s, alright. Fair play to the people who can do this without any hassle. July 4th. They're just little breadcrumbs. How am I settling into the new workshop? It's okay. I'm really missing component drawers, like really missing having them. I bought some timber to mount up the component drawers, so I'll probably do it at the weekend because my component drawers are in the opposite room at the moment, so it's really a bit of a pain. I'm also really missing having 2 desks. I just have one set up here. But other than that, like we're really liking the new house, so which is kind of the same as the new workshop. Probably close enough. Thank you for asking. Oh, I also really have to say, I'm so happy with the robot lawnmower. I'm just so sorry that I hadn't done it before. Yeah, my eyesight was good. I think it's still pretty good, to be honest. But I feel like the biggest issue I'm having now is my shaky hand. But yeah, it's more down. Probably the NMOS is next. Yeah, I guess there is plenty of space for it, but there mightn't be in the future, Pete. You see, I'm going to get these made when they become a product, and like a pick and place machine doesn't really care if it, well, depending, like a good pick and place machine doesn't really care if it's 0402 or 0603 or whatever. Yeah. You really did put me on the right path, Colin, with the Works one, to be honest. So like I do want to make a video about them, but or about the machine. But like I spent less than €1,000 on the machine, and it's mowing my entire back lawn. Like, as in, I haven't mowed my lawn in a month. Tony, my favorite PCB assembly house, really the only one I've used up to this, is Maker Fabs, and I haven't used them for SMD stuff yet. I've only used them to assemble some power blockers for me. But I know, like I know several people who have used them for other stuff and are very happy with them. I'm not going to say who they are because I don't know if they want, to reveal that they're using assembly houses or what assembly houses or whatever. But yeah, people that I know and trust are getting on well with them too, and like they're so good to work with so far anyways, Maker Fabs. So have a free bit of advertising on me, Maker Fabs, I suppose. It doesn't, Adam. It does something called mulching the grass. So basically it just goes around and cuts so often that it just cuts like a tiny bit at a time, and it just leaves it there, and it just like fertilizes the lawn basically. So here is maybe I might do the IC next actually. If I can find it. I only have 2 left. You could definitely get like email Maker Fabs, Tony. I would recommend doing that. Like I got a code for these, assembling these. So it's 0402 stuff. Like, and like I've only asked for 50 of them. Now there's some things that like they'll have a board setup fee and they'll have a stencil fee and things like that are going to be the same regardless of the fact that you only have 3 components on it or whatever. But sure, see what they say. Let's see what it is. What does this do? So basically it is a way of, so this is version 1 and it's a lot of hot glue. So it's going to have USB-C on it, and it's going to talk to USB-C power delivery chargers, and it's going to say, hey, I want 20 volts off you, and it has this XT60 connector on it, and what you're going to plug into the XT60 connector is this thing here, which is XT60 on one end, sorry, and 2.5 by 5.5 jack, and you're going to plug it into your TS100. So it's a way of powering your TS100 using USB-C. So then what you would do is you could power your TS100 using like a power bank. So I've been plugging in I've been using USB-C to solder with solely for the last like 4 months. Yeah. Okay, so let's get this guy on here. Okay. It's not the straightest, but the super power will hopefully do that. Yeah, now USB-C is definitely very nice, alright. It's funny though, anytime you watch a video of someone talking about power delivery, they always go like, oh, and it can do up to 100 watts. And that's true, like the technology is rated to do up to 100 watts, but like chargers are not really readily available to do 100 watts. Hey Philippe, how's it going? It's nearly a product, maybe. I think we're missing some ESD stuff from here, to be honest. So I think I'll explain kind of the situation in a second, or when we get this working. The other thing worth talking about is this switch, right? So I'm after adding a switch to my design because there were some chargers it didn't work with. Yeah, so like but even like to find a 100-watt power supply like is in the, you know, do they exist? Probably. Can people buy them on Amazon? No. So like, you know, nobody's just going to have a 100-watt power supply floating around like, yeah. So, yeah, like I think kind of 80 watts would be kind of large for that. Okay, so I'm just going to move this. Just going to put that there, get my USB. Now, I did, hey, Envy. Is it pronounced Envy? I never actually thought about it, reading it out loud before. Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Just this is not on very well at all. It'll probably suck itself to position. That's an 87 watt one, is it? Mark. 96 watt. That's pretty close. It's only $80 too. It's not bad. Not bad. Not 100 watts though. Yeah, that's pretty close. The interesting stuff about the Apple chargers is they do 20 volts, they do 5 volts, and they do 9 volts. So I don't know if many of you have seen. Hey Aaron, how's it going? I don't know if many of you have seen. There's a TS80P out, so it's the TS80, but it has power delivery now, and it only does 12 volts. 12 volt at 2.5 amps. So the problem with that is it won't work with an Apple charger, for example, or like I have 6 power delivery power supplies that I bought almost specifically for this project. It's 30 watts Photo Pro max. So I don't know if my math's wrong there. Maybe it's 2.25 amps or whatever it is. Yeah, so I have 6 power delivery power supplies, and only 5 of them should be capable of powering the TS80P. Oops, I really should have done this by hand. But only 2 of them will. Only 2 of them have the required voltage at 12 volt, or required amperage at 12 volts. So I have 2 Apple chargers, one genuine and one fake one. Neither of them talk 12 volts, so that's out of the picture straight away. And then I don't know where it is now, but that's it. Then I have an Amazon Basics 30 watt one. Also doesn't talk 12 volts. So, yeah. I've seen a couple of putting the paste on the true hole parts. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just did whatever. Easy EDA did for me. Right. It's time to get the cookie. Does everyone know what the cookie is? I should have bought more of these, but the actual IC. Does everyone know what the cookie is? Where's the cookie? It is cookie time. Nom 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 nom. This is called the cookie because it was a cork board we used in the kitchen. Let me just focus you up a little bit. That broke, and it has been relegated to the lab. And anytime I use it, people go, "Oh, did you get hungry?" And the answer is yes. Yes, I did. I actually really like it. I totally recommend it for this purpose. Okay, I need to turn up the heat a bit. So we'll go with, I don't know, 285. Yeah. Do I have a link for the lawnmower? I don't have a link too handy. If you search for my robot, I need to move the camera because you're in my way. And let me just search for my robot center. Actually, I do have a link because it shows up in my history here. The pads don't go all the way through to the other side, so it should be fine. That's the exact one I have. A good tip, and I'll talk about it in the video, is you can use Google Maps to measure your garden to see how big of a robot you'll need. Yeah, so like when I think I paid $8.30 including delivery. Oh, I think that's so satisfying. See it just go. Hope you can see this okay. Yeah, I think. I think we lost the resistor, did we? Oh no, it's on its side. Is it? I can't tell. Maybe I do need to get my eyes checked. I'll use my phone. Don't melt the switch. I will try not to melt the switch. Did I lose the resistor? No, it's there. I just can't see it. The USB-C needs a little bit more. The cap looks like it could do with being straightened out a bit too. Yeah, I gotta love the surface tension. The capacitor was on its side in the beginning, was it? Oopsies. Now, I do need to be careful to not melt that switch, though. Yeah, I think I'll leave it where it is. The cap. I think it's done okay. Alright. Guys, I think that's alright. TO402 cap. It could have been on its side. USB-C seems a bit crooked. It does seem a bit crooked. Let's see if we can fix him up a bit. That looks better. I don't think it's perfect, but yeah, that's fine. Let's not let perfect be the enemy of good enough. Yeah, like this is just for proven the concept purpose anyways, so I'm not overly worried about it being perfectly straight. This is probably still quite hot. I think in general though it looks like it went pretty well. I don't see any bridges on the microcontroller. Everything else looks alright. So I don't know, Envy. I use 280 there. I think for the hot air gun, it's a little bit weird because you kind of get to control the amount of temperature it gets to by how long it stays there. But yeah. Yeah, I guess the body of the of the thing would be next. Would you solder it from this side of the board or the underside of the board? Normally I would solder it from the underside, but maybe it makes more sense to do the top side. I think, yeah, compared to the last time, yeah, it's definitely better than the last time. Lower looks nicer, top is stronger. Yeah. I'm just going to clean my stencil a tiny bit. Because I even have some isopropyl, or whatever, however you pronounce that, isopropyl here, so just, I don't know if this is the correct way to clean your stencil. I'm sure kitchen paper probably isn't the optimal tool for it, but sorry, you weren't looking at I can give it a better clean later, but IPA, yeah, let's do the underside. Let's make it look fancy. So I'll probably be taking photos of it for Twitter later and stuff. Okay, I need to focus. Do both sides, top side. You're approaching CL standards. I don't think so. I normally use about 350 with my soldering iron for true hole components. Sometimes I drop it down for, I don't know. Yeah, that's been happening. I need to stop that. Yeah, I don't know what that's about exactly. And even when I hit the table, it kind of goes through the microphone. Yeah, need to stop that, alright. Because I can hear it in videos that I've recorded too. I think just the floor is bouncier. So like even, you know, it's kind of, the table wobbles a bit more than it used to in the last house. I'm not sure though. Okay. Let's use version 1. Yeah, I probably had the air a little bit high, I would say, too. The last thing I was using it for was heat shrinking power blockers. Some people suggested that I try out longer flexible cables, so I bought a longer flexible cable from Banggood in like March. It arrived last week. Tony, no, it doesn't require any programming. The switch tells it to move from requesting 20 volts to 15 volts. So the problem is that if you have a charger that can do 20 volts but not enough amps, so like it requires 2.4 amps roughly at 20 volts, like this will negotiate with the power delivery charger and go, yeah, I want 20 volts, and the charger goes, yeah, I can do 20 volts. But then when you try to turn on your soldering iron, it will just hit over current protection on your charger, hopefully. So yeah, I haven't checked anything on this long cable. Somebody suggested that they liked it, and I was like, okay. It has about twice the resistance of the other cable, but yeah, just said I'd give it a go. It's quite flexible. I'd say it's almost as flexible as the other one. Not quite, but I think I've disconnected something on my old Flex-C-Friend because it's negotiating 5 volts rather than it's negotiating the right amount now. Which makes me worried about ooh, I have the wrong tip in my soldering iron. That'll be okay. You want the Chinese to copy it. I think with Maker Fabs, if you have an open source project that I guess they must have to like the look of it or whatever, they'll assemble it and sell it directly and give you a cut. I don't know what that is though. I need to get soldered. Yeah, I don't mind chisel tips. I just prefer the kind of semi-conical one. What is that? Do you see that mark on the board? You know those micro break? It's one of those. Ah, yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. Do you see the bottom of the board? It's like it's missing copper. Yeah. Yeah, it's not like that on another one. I don't think it'll make much of a difference. But interesting, isn't it? Do you see the part I'm talking about? Just underneath, like, PD there, there's a big gap missing there. And it's not missing on this one. Yeah, I think it'll work connective wise. It couldn't be something I burnt because the silk screen is on top of it. Yeah. I wonder, is it on any of the rest of them? No, the other 4 look fine. No, it's missing a. It looks like it's missing a blob of copper, which is super weird. Anyways, it doesn't matter because no, I didn't change the component footprint. No, it's fine on the other. Was my. Ugh. What's going on there? It's back working now. No, it's not. What is happening? I don't know. My webcam seems to be struggling. Wonder what's going on. It's just this desk one. Maybe I will stop and start it. Nope, still freaking out. Let me plug it out and plug it back in again. one is it? I think it's this one. It is that one, and it didn't turn off the feed, which is weird. Still not gone. Deactivate. Activate. It's gotten pretty gray with its old white balance, isn't it? Come on, make me less ill looking. That's super weird. I think we just got a bit more realistic on this channel. It's working better. You know, what? Like, it's so the color is so washed out or something compared to what it was. Oh, there we go. Well, I don't know what happened there, but that's showbiz for you. Get out of the sun. Yeah. Or get out to the sun. I need my vitamin D. There's not much sun in Ireland at 10 past 10. Okay, let's get a little bit. Okay. Definitely should have gotten a bit of thing. Yeah. I'm a pretty pale person, so the lack of tan is unsurprising. Okay, so that's that. All right, let's put in our XT60. Let's do 1 to begin with. We'll make sure that we're nice and straight. I really should bump up the temp of this because I'm only on 350 at the moment. Yeah. Did what it needed to do anyways. Still bump up the temp. I don't want to burn myself. Whoa, 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 whoa. Looks alright to me. Retaining pins first. What a novel idea. That probably does make sense, doesn't it? This is a pretty big ground plan now, so this is a real tester. Small. Well, I say a big ground plan, like the PCB is not that big, but no problems. After you solder on the bottom, make sure it wicked up to the top hole. Need to abuse that surface tension. Good night, Mr. Williams. Is that a good night hello or a good night goodbye? It's funny how like good morning is hello, but good night is goodbye. Why is that? Let it soak. Okay, so what do you want? More Let it sit there for another minute, is it? Try to burn in myself. Just add another little bit to get the party started again. Okay, that's going to be fine anyways. Getting the party started. No problemos. I need asbestos fingers. Yep. Not little soft programming fingers that I have at the moment. Okay, that's quite warm still. Yeah. You were just singing a good night hello. Yes, well, hello to you too, Mr. William. Yeah, but it is not often used as a hello. Right, so what do you think? I suppose the first thing I want to check is there any shorts to ground? That's between plus and minus. That's it's always a good check, and we can do that while it's cooling down here. I wouldn't be surprised if it beeps a tiny bit because of the cap. Okay, beep beep. 64 watching. Well, hello, 64 people. Okay, no beeps. Which is good, I suppose. Let's just check that we've continuity between ground and ground, I suppose. Yep. Sorry, I'm not showing you. Just testing. VCC goes to where it needs to go. Right. So when the switch is at 15, the select pin, which I forget where it is, but we can look it up. Hello, Mr. Forehead. Yeah, well, it's covered in a lot of hair, so that's fine. The USB-C pins don't look bridged, and let's check the power ones that they're not bridged. They're not. Yeah, so when it's 15 volts, it should, the select pin should be floating. And when it's switched to 20 volts, select pin should be connected to this resistor. So I suppose let's find where the select pin is, because I forget, and just double check that we've done that right, because we're pretty sure we broke one of the IP2721s the last time. See you, John. Take it easy. You just need to get enough of it. He's replacing a transistor in his weller with the same weller. Nice. Yeah, the XT60 is not the correct connector really to use, because the 60 stands for the fact that it can do 60 amps, but that's just what comes with the cable. So screen share plus desk. Yes. Might even get to see some secret projects on the left, who knows. Right, so the select pin is 1, 2, 3 up from the, it's weirdly connected, but anyways. 1, 2, 3 up from the USB side. Yeah, so let's just double check that. You could have an LED to show that it's going through. I was never too... I never bothered with it because I felt like the soldering iron would be your indication that there was power going through. So how the IP272 works, Tony, is so it'll, like, if it's configured for 20 volts, it will ask for 20, and if the supply can provide 20, it will get 20, but it will also fall back to the next highest available. So okay, that sounds pretty good. I don't think there's any need for the status LED, personally. Okay, so I can plug out this. Oh, it's very not focused. Just take out this super long connector. It's not helping the situation massively. I've something kind of interesting to show you. Let me get you a little bit more focused. Well, there's no incorrect polarity because the XT60 connector is keyed and the USB-C can be flipped upside down. So there's no way to... The only way that it could potentially be bad is if you have a bad XT60 connector, and that would be too late anyways. There shouldn't be any user error. It should just be plugged in or not plugged in. Right, so I've got two... Oh, interesting. I don't have to... That's interesting. Anywho, alright, so I've got two of these cables here, and I want you to tell me which is the better of them, right? And I know this is going to be hard for you to tell from here, right? So this is cable A, right? That is its flex, right? And this is cable B, and that is its flex. So I know it's very difficult to tell from there, but which one of them looks better? B. B is more flexible. B is a cheaper cable. So at some stage I just need to do a burn test to see what the story is with it. You can see, you can't see it too clearly, but do you see that symbol there? That's the symbol that shows up when you turn on your soldering iron. It's mini wear, and this one looks bent even. Okay, so people thought A was the better cable. Well, A is the more expensive cable. It's a lot more expensive. I think it's mini wear, isn't it? C, silicone cable. Well, I presume one of these is silicone. The mini Chen one is silicone, as far as I know. I'll do a burn test with them at some stage, but yeah. It's mini wear, isn't it? It could be thinner. On my crappy on my crappy multimeter, they both measure 2 ohms from like ground to ground of the XT60 connector. But yeah. Alright, so I've got them plugged in now. Silicone. Yes. Okay. So the moment of truth. Okay. Alright, well, nothing blew up anyways, so that's good. Right. Next. I didn't do any more on a stream, Tony, but the Spotify library is actually in pretty good shape at the moment. So there it is, negotiating 20 volts. Now it does say that you shouldn't, or that you can't like change it on the fly, but I'm going to change it on the fly because I'm a rebel. So, yes, so I actually was in the middle, Tony, of talking to you, hello Johnny, about the IP2721, right? So this actually explains the IP2721 fairly well. So you'll notice I have it on the 15 volt slot, but it's negotiated 9 volts. So what's after happening is I'm negotiating with a MacBook charger, and the MacBook chargers, they do 20 volts, 9 volts, and 5 volts. So what's happening is the IP2721 is asking for 15 volts, and the MacBook charger is saying, I can't do 15, I don't have it. And it'll go, yeah, okay, just give me the next best thing. And the MacBook goes, 9 volts, and the IP2721 goes, cool, 9 volts it is. But like if I swap that back to 20 volts again, it will take 20 volts. So, yes. So this is working. Great. But the problem is, does it solder? Oh, it absolutely solders, yeah, for sure. Like, you just seen me solder with it. To be honest. You saw me solder with an old version of it. Like this is basically the same thing, except I added the switch after the fact, and that 100k resistor. How does the user know that they get the required power? By the rating of the power supply, I guess. Well, you see, the TS100 has a range of like 12 to 24 volt. Just the cable. I'm not going to do the cable burn test on stream because I want to record that for a video. No, stop. I want to record it for a video. And I don't know how to do both. How does the user know that it's negotiated the right power? An LED isn't going to help with that, I don't think. The TS100 will tell you what voltage it has. I guess you could put an LED in here. Oops. Oh, twice in a row. It's doing this temperature check thing. doesn't like when you press... Oh, it's cooling down when I press down. Don't press that button first. Yes, I will, Dave. It will negotiate 15. Because it will fail to negotiate 20. And it'll take the next best thing. How do I even go into settings in this? I've never had to do that before. Do I hold down something? No. Do I press both of them together? I've never went into the settings on this thing. That's it off. How do I go into settings? The switch, Dave, is for very special use cases. Sort of. The switch is... That's my multimeter complaining. The switch is for this use case, right? Right, so this charger is a 30-watt charger, and it can output 5, 9, 15, or 20 volts. I'm still on the stock firmware NV. I actually bought... okay, stop being so needy. I actually bought another TS100, literally just to play around with, to put custom firmware on it, because the TS100 is my main soldering iron, and I didn't want to, like, it was soldering fine for me, so I didn't want to be playing around with one of the most important tools that I have. So I bought one literally just to test this working with the Ralem firmware. Yeah, so it can do 5 volts, 9 volts, 15 volts, and 20 volts, but the problem is that the 20 volts can't provide enough power. Good night, Mr. William. Goodbye, good night. It needs to provide 2.4 amps to work. So if we... It's going to be too hot now, but if we take a look at this thing, when I turn it on, it won't last long because it's already pretty hot, but when it's heating up, you'll see 2.44 amps there for a second. So the problem is that this power supply is capable of powering the TS100, but only at 15 volts. It can't power it at 20 volts, but because it is capable of doing 20 volts, that's what it will negotiate if the switch is set to 20. But then when you turn on the iron, it will it'll cut out. So let me plug it in and I'll show you. Dren, it is working, yes. 20 volts is also 30 watts. 20 volts at 1.5 amps is 30 watts. But at 20 volts it needs like 48 watts. But then at 15 volts it only needs roughly 30 watts. 27 watts is what I have written down here. 27 David watts. The TS100 is 65 watts, but at 24 volts. So there's a resistor in the head of the iron. That's where it gets the heat from, like the power going through that resistor basically, or the heating element has a resistance of 8.5 ohms. So Ohm's law says that as voltage goes up, if resistance stays the same, then current has to go up too. So it's not constant power. It's not a 65 watt device. It can consume 65 watts at 24 volts. But if you provide it 12 volts, it does way less current. So I have my big calculator here. So V is equal to IR is Ohm's law. So if my V is 12 and I divide that by 8.5, which is the resistance of the tip. So at 12 volts, it needs 1.4 amps. But then at 24 volts, same thing, divided by 8.5, it needs 2.8 amps. So if you have a 24 volt charger for this, it needs 3 amps, basically. But for power delivery, it's 20 volts. So 20 divided by 8.5, 2.35 or 2.4. So it's a resistive load. It does take longer to power up at 15 volts. If I have a TS100 video where I tested powering it up using 24 volts and 12 volts, and to get, I can't remember what temperature I set it to, it might have been 350, but I think it was like 8 seconds on 24 volts and 48 seconds on 12 volts. So it's a lot slower. But yes, so here, let me go back to my desk plus me. All right, so this is it plugged into the 30 watt charger. So I can plug in my TS100. Still happy out, it's working here. My TS100 is on. So the problem is when I turn on my TS100, see it turned off there, it just tried to draw too much current. The power supply shut off. So they should have taken away a constant voltage source. I don't know. I'm not, I wasn't involved in the designing of it. I just implementing what is here. Yeah, so that didn't work, right? It negotiated 20 and that was fine, but then when I tried to actually draw the load, it wasn't able to. Now, I think the Ralem firmware might allow you to set like the max kind of, like there's a as far as I know, there's a MOSFET in that controls the power going to the tip, and like you could in theory do like PWM on that MOSFET to only allow like 60% true or whatever, so it never draws the full 2.4 amps. I don't want to get involved in that. Like if you have to use some feature of Ralem to use this, I think you've done it wrong. No, the power meter's fine. Power meter can work, no problems. Here is a different power supply. Same test. You can see it goes up to 2.6 amps. Like that, the power meter might be not good, but you can see what it's doing there. Whether it's accurate or not, the power meter, I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, you can see that it worked fine. So that was with a different power supply. That was with my Mac power supply. No, it's not a boost converter. it's just, that's what USB Type-C does, right? You can ask it for different things. See, Envy. Big ass cap. It would have to be a really big ass cap to sustain like 10 seconds of 2.4 amps. If you were to switch the MOSFET. Oh, okay. Yeah, like, I'm not interested in doing the MOSFET thing anyways. Like limiting the amount of current it is. Alright, so we're plugged back into the Amazon charger, so the 30 watt one. Now if I flick this switch over to 15, so it will negotiate 15 volts, 14.8, pretty close. Can plug it in. So like this is the same, oops, did I disconnect it maybe? Like this is the same charger. Now, I don't know if you can see, it's noticeably slower, but there we go. Same charger. Because I flicked over to the 15 volt switch, it's able to work off this 30 watt charger now. Hey Samuel. Ooh, James asks a good question. Can I not inquire what the maximum current is? Yes, you can. On a better IC than this one. A better IC being the ST USB 4500. That is a better one. But it needs to be programmed, which is a problem for a product. Not an unsurmountable problem, but the problem is that this product has an upper price limit, right? It's worth about $20. Including this cable, the $25 maybe. Like, that's, you know, if the TS100 costs $50, you can't charge much more than like 50% of the cost of the soldering iron is probably as much as people are going to pay for it. So you kind of have to work backwards a little bit. This is 70 cents in quantities of 1. The ST USB in quantities of 50 off Maker Fabs is $2.10. So I'm not sure exactly how much 50 of these will cost me, but 50 of the ST USB 4500s will cost $2.10. So about $1.50 more. And will need to be programmed beforehand. So you kind of just have to go backwards, right? Like, will I make a pro version that has the ST USB 4500? Maybe. I don't know. This has a MOSFET too, an N-channel MOSFET. Yeah, like if you recreated the ST USB 4500, it has a bigger BOM as well. Although a lot of that is the ESD stuff, which I think I need to add to this anyways. So, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think you kind of just have to work backwards. Like, programming it would add a huge amount to the cost of it. Like, and I know as well, like, the price difference is like $1.50 between the two or whatever I said it was. Like, that's $1.50 of cost, right? Like, as in, by the time that gets translated to whatever like the end price is, like, it will be probably doubled. Because, like, say like it's the old adage, of like the kind of capitalism dream of like buy for $1, sell for two, right? Like, as in, if your cost goes up, you need to sell for more. Like, even like at the simplest level, like Tindie charge effectively 10% to sell. Like, so if you sell something for $100, there'll be $5 in Tindie fees and $5 in payment fees from Tindie. So that's $10, which isn't yours when you sell it for $100. So, like, straight away, if your cost goes up, you need to get that much back, at least. And, like, yeah, as Pete says, the general rule of thumb is you charge 2.5 to 3 times your BOM cost. And at, like, even to get the price down to, like, $25, I would not be charging that much. The only reason that I'm happy enough to lower it a little bit is because I wouldn't have to, like, as in, I'd be buying them assembled, so I just need to test them and bag them up and send them out, like. Andy, it's like £18, I suppose. $25 is £20, £18 maybe. Yeah, that's another thing. Like Pete mentioned, like, stuff goes missing in the post, and it's not your fault, so it's my fault. And I'm not like, I don't mean that in a like belittling way whatsoever. Like, if somebody says to me on Tindie, "Hey, my board hasn't shown up," I'll either refund them or I'll send them a new one. And, like, it's, the sales of the boards and stuff that has to pay for that. Like, thankfully I haven't had anything break in shipping. Most of the stuff is kits that I sell, though, so sometimes I've done stupid things and, like, I didn't send people stuff that they, like, bought or whatever, and I send that on. But yeah, you just gotta get paid. Yeah, it's not the fault, it's the responsibility. It's not your responsibility, it's mine. And, like that's the way it should be. Like, like, people on Tindie have been super reasonable in the main part, I would say. Like, like, up to before coronavirus, kind of, like, I would normally ask people to wait like 4 weeks. Stuff wouldn't normally take 4 weeks to get to you, but I would say, can you allow 4 weeks? And at the end of the 4 weeks, if it hasn't arrived, I'll send you a new one or refund you. And like, it's funny, like, even some places like the UK, like, the UK couldn't be closer to us. And somebody said, yeah, it hasn't arrived. And I think after about 3 weeks, I went, okay, that's grand, I'll send you a new one. Sent them a new one. Both of them arrived. I don't know what, like, on the same day. The original one and the new one arrived like a few days after I sent the new one. Like, I don't know, did it just get clogged somewhere and the new one unclogged it? But yeah, so Photo Chromax makes a good point as well. Like, maybe crap power delivery supplies don't have overcurrent protection, and it's hard to know what to do at that stage. Like, I could include documentation with this that says you need a 50-watt supply to use this at 20 volts, and you need a 30-watt supply to use this at 15 volts. And if you need more details, go to this website. It's hard to know what else to do. So the TI reference design don't put overcurrent protection. You see, you can't really protect for over current, right? Because yeah, it's not. This hasn't done anything wrong in its head when you've this switch to 20 volts. Like it just asks for 20 volts and then starts drawing, something down the line draws the current. It's not a fault on the board. The power supply is under spec. Now, if you had a better power sync board, you would be able to negotiate that. But you don't know the PSU's limit. I don't think I would like to sell a PSU. I definitely would not like to sell a PSU. I'm already like nervous about selling this. So the other thing about the ST USB 4500 that I was like, the other thing about the ST USB 4500 that I was like, a bit disappointed about was, so there's two things. It has the ability to set 3 profiles. Power delivery negotiates voltage, but it is also capable of ensuring that it has the right amps. But yeah, this one doesn't. Yeah, so the ST USB allows you to have 3 profiles, but the third profile, or the lowest, actually I think it's profile 1, but the lowest priority profile is locked to 5 volts, which means that, so I have this terrible, well, it's not terrible, it's fine. It's a power delivery supply that is 18 watt supply, and this will power the TS100 at 12 volts. Slowly, but it will power it, and it'll work with this IP2721 because it'll just do whatever. But like, if you wanted to say, I support every power supply, power delivery power supply that could potentially work with the TS100, you would need to have a profile for 20 volts, 15 volts, and 12 volts. And hello, Unexpected Maker. And without, so the ST USB 4500 allows you to set 2 profiles for voltage. Well, again, it lets you set 3 profiles, but one of them is locked to 5 volts. So you could tell it to be, I want 20 volts at this much amps, or if you can't give me that, I want 15 volts at this much amps. And if you can't give me that, you'd have to fall back to 5 volts. So you can't tell it to do 20 volts, 15 volts, or 12 volts. Maybe that's okay, like you're solving for a problem of somebody having an 18 watt supply or whatever. Maybe, I don't know if that's a realistic thing. But the other thing that's a problem is it doesn't let you adjust the current to fine. Like, it only lets you adjust the current in, like, is it half an amp or something? Like, it's pretty limited to how much you can adjust the current. Is it half an amp? No, it must be. I think it is half an amp. Let me check. I just picked up my solder as my ST USB 4500 data sheet. The PSU should protect itself. Are you willing to bet it will protect itself? I'm just looking at the data sheet here. Yeah, it goes up in, it's 2.5 or 0.25 amp steps. Screen share plus desk. So you can set a Flex-C mode, so that you can set to anything you want in 10 milliamp steps. So like you could set it to be like, if you need 2.4 amps or whatever, you could set it to be 2.4 amps. But then you can only set one of those Flex-C voltages. Now you can use that one Flex-C voltage on whatever profile you want, as far as I can tell. But yeah, you can only set one precision amp, and then all the other ones you need to use one of these lookup tables, the predefined ones, and they go up in 0.25 amp steps. So say, for example, the 20 volt one needs 2.4 amps, but the closest you can get is 2.5 amps. So is that okay? Maybe. Same with the 30 or 15 volt one. 15 volt needs 1.8 amp, so you'd have to ask for 2 amps. You could round up, but the problem with rounding up is that, like, if you have a supply that's on the limit, it just won't work. Like if the supply was on the limit to, like, I guess maybe like there probably isn't a 29 watt supply, right? 15 volts at, you only need about 27 watts to work at 15 volts, but probably most of the supplies would be 30 watts, but I don't know. Yeah, you can set what you have there, Tren, except 1.75 isn't enough. So you'd have to bump it up to 2 amps. And you could do that, that's fine. But we still have if we scroll it way back, we still have the problem to hit the price target. We probably can't use that chip. So what can you do? Like, another interesting thing, Colin mentioned it earlier in the chat, is me and Colin have a power supply made by Omar or somebody. It's a power bank, and it's a 45 watt power bank. So 45 watts is out of spec for this, right? Shouldn't work, but it does work at 20 volts. It just, if you look at the current source or the voltmeter thing, the inline yoke, it just pulls more than 45 watts for a brief amount of time, just while it heats up. And that power supply, although it is capable of doing the 20 volts, sort of, like it runs over spec, but it's capable of doing it. It fails to negotiate with this. So, yeah. But again, all of that's irrelevant, because if you want to hit a certain price point of $25 or whatever, you can't go that high. Yeah. Yeah, the overcurrent protection is, yeah, it has to be, like, yeah, you can't, you don't know you're going to, like, this board does not know it's going to run into that scenario. So there's nothing you can do at that stage. You just get a better sync module, but again, you won't hit your price target, probably. Like, so the best solution is an MCU that talks to the S. But like, if you're adding another MCU to it, then you're in, like, you're like, you're definitely not going to hit $25 then. Like, it's not even close. I don't know. Does it detect if it drops? I don't know if like big voltage drops are a thing for power delivery. Like maybe that's part of kind of the spec that it doesn't drop the voltage. Like it just cuts off if you're trying to draw too much. Probably not a huge amount of time. You have to build a programmer. You have to run it through the programmer. You have to make sure that you've programmed it correctly. Don't know. Like Dren kind of makes a good point, right? As in, like, there's nothing to stop you from plugging your TS100 into 20 volt 1 amp barrel jack, right? But you don't. Like, you know, you check that it's capable of it. Oh, like I bought this thing. This was going to be my programming jig. But yeah. This was going to be my programming jig for it. 4 pins, I2C, and away you go. Yeah, the TS100 has a barrel. Like, it doesn't come with a power supply by default, but it has a barrel jack. Like, you could just plug anything into this, right? But you don't. Like, I don't think it's ignorant to say people don't get it or whatever, but like, you know, anybody could just plug whatever into this and they don't. Like, I'm still a little bit caught between like whether I should just go to the ST USB 4500, but like the other thing as well is maybe I should just kind of test the water with the IP2721, see what happens, you know. Like the other thing as well, so say I get 50 boards made up and say there's an additional cost of, I don't know, there's, say it's $2 for the bomb, and say it's another, let's say $1 a board for programming it. Like it's still an extra $150 plus VAT on the board. Like it's not insignificant. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. I think I'm probably gonna leave it there. I have a tendency of streaming for too long, and being like absolutely wrecked the next day. So I'm going to try keep the streams around 2 hours. Yeah. No, I don't run as a business. I made a power delivery mod for the TS100. Oh, there is such thing. Definitely when you go to bed at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Because the other thing as well is when I finish streaming, I can't go straight to sleep. My mind is like racing. So like if I finish streaming at 1 o'clock, I don't go to sleep till like 2 o'clock. So it's bad. So yeah, this is a mod for a TS100 that allows us to power the TS100 using USB Type-C. I pressed the wrong button again. What is that button even for? There we go. So this is only running off 15 volts at the moment, but we're not 20. Yeah, I can't do it either. Do I have any quick takes on it? So I haven't used it at all. Lol, what? It's not suitable for this application, though. The problem with it is that it's not going to be The problem with it is for this particular application is so this can negotiate current, which sounds like a good thing. But the problem with it is that the current negotiation is configured using resistors. So you see iSync coarse and iSync fine. I'm not 100% sure how to do that negotiation, but it's based on the resistors that you plop in there. And the issue is that it's shared amongst the different voltages. So, which is a problem for the TS100, right? Because what we talked about with the, because it's a resistive load, like the amount of current it needs changes per, per voltage setting. So, like you can configure what voltage you're using this little dip switch, or whatever this is called, rotary switch. I don't even know what it's called, but it shares the current limit. So is it a good board? It could be. I don't really have any comment on it. Rotary switch, what's the part number? Is it the actual chip, is it? I presume this is that's the name of the board, rather than the IC. I'm not sure what the IC is. Yeah, CY4533. Oh yeah, here it is. So CYPD3177. Yeah, so what I was thinking about doing is, so I have a bit of experience with like different power delivery things. So I haven't used this one, but I've read up a good bit about it. I was thinking about making a video about them, that it would be, I think it'd be a kind of interesting video, because it's something that people are curious about, that, they want to use power delivery. What should they go with, and what options are there? The only one that I don't really have here is the FUSB 302. But then I actually discovered that I do have one here. Do I have it to hand, though? I know I said I was going to finish streaming, and I will, but... So this here, right, is one of those modules that you can buy on AliExpress. I don't know, it's kind of zoomed out. So you plug it in. And it starts with 5 volts. You can press the button and it goes to 9 volts. It should go to 12 volts, but I don't talk about it. Or I don't talk about it. The power supply doesn't have it. It goes up to 20 volts. So I don't find this board that useful, because when you plug it back in, it goes back to 5 volts, right? So it's not really great, right? But what is interesting about it is that it is an STM32 chip here, and it is using an FUSB 302 board for the power delivery. I don't think the Cypress does either. I haven't really looked into it, mainly just because of the limitation I was talking about. The resistor pins are just used to, I guess as you switch the voltage, you could change the resistors that it has too. It's a bit messy. So yeah, this is an STM32 board controlling an FUSB 302. So yeah, that'd be interesting, Keaton. Thanks. And there's pins at the bottom of this broken out, and this just happens to be the same pitch as it, but it doesn't fit on when the screw terminal is there, but I can take it off. But I beeped it out, and it seems to be the SWD pins for programming an STM32. So I'm kind of wondering, could you modify this board to work more like the ST USB 4500? That, like, you know, if you, like, rather than listening for this button press to change like what the STM, like the STM, like I presume, I don't know, like it's closed source board, but I presume when this button gets pressed, the STM32 has code that goes, okay, I'm gonna I2C talk to this guy and tell it, okay, now go get 5 or 9 volts or whatever. Do I have an ST link, Mark? Have a cheap, shitty ST link? Yes, I do. So, like, yeah, we could, you know, possibly overwrite the code on this to talk to this. Now, the only problem I have, the thing that's really holding me back from this is, so Reclaimer Labs on Tindie sells, I will do that, Mark. Maybe we could do it on a stream or something. Might make it kind of interesting. Are you on my Discord, Mark? Even without, you could trick that a button state was pressed. Possibly. I think it would be really cool though. Like the F. Hey Michael, how's it going? This USB-C power delivery chip, the FUSB 302, is. Yeah, I'll email you, Mark. Just copy that. Let me just open the email. Open a thing. You should all come to my Discord. That's great crack. It is actually good fun. I'm not on it as much as I was at one stage. Just I'm trying to concentrate a little bit more with work and stuff. But yeah, I like it a lot. I've started to use Twitter a lot less since I started using it. But yeah, so this is capable of like negotiating the current as well. But the problem is that like it can only do one at a time, so it really needs another microcontroller connected to it. So if you if you look at Great Scott's last video, like he showed the code that was required to do this part, and it's nuts. Like it's crazy. Apparently, thank you, Colin. Apparently, I think the Reclaimer Labs guy on Tindie who sells the breakout for the FUSB, I think like this chip is capable of doing loads of the USB-C spec, but like really we only care about the power delivery part. We don't care about anything else. So I actually think Ralem, the guy from the TS100 firmware thing, I think he's talking about implementing a power delivery like code just for this. So yeah, that would, like, I think there's something there. I think it would be super awesome if you could reprogram this. I think that would be mwah, right? Because these are like $6. You know, they come assembled. You could get it without this thing on it. Like, do you know what? You could even make a stupid daughter board PCB that like connected one of these to it if you wanted it for the TS100. Like, you know. But overall, I just think it'd be so cool if you could hack this. I just think it would be amazing. I don't know what you'd do with the push button, but like, wouldn't it be awesome if you could just reprogram it to be whatever you wanted? Now, this thing, right? Somebody was saying it looked like a fancy stapler. This thing was $12. That's quite expensive. Oh, you should. Have you seen the power delivery spec? Like, I think it's nuts. The type of stuff that that it sends. Like, I think it's quite full on. Power on and off. Yeah, like that might even be good enough, right? Power on and off. Cut the power. That'd be pretty nice. Yeah, this was like $12. I'm sure you could make something pretty similar. Like, there's not a whole lot to it. I just, $12 for pogo pins and a clothes peg. Yeah. I think it was 6 plus 6 delivery or something, but but that's fine. Yeah, I guess it changes based on the supply, right? That you might want to negotiate something different. I don't understand enough about it, to be honest. DefPam. Yeah, you could 3D print this, but like, it was just a case of like, I wanted it pretty close. Yeah, like as Pete says, $12 over 50 boards. Like, I actually bought a few things kind of like this because I thought it might make a semi-interesting video, like what type of things are available. Like, Sion has a really cool one for, his testing jig. Like, he has a little like arm thing. 12. That's it. Like, if I had to 3D design this, right, I'd definitely be over an hour. 100% be over an hour. And like an hour of development time, it would be worth way more than $12 to me. Like, way more. And I know that sounds, I don't know how that sounds to people, but like, I 100% value my time, my free time, way more than $12 an hour. Like, I'm fortunate to be in a position to be able to do stuff like that, where it's like, I'll buy this thing rather than make it. Yes, so I said I was going to finish 15 minutes ago. So now you can only spend your hour once. That's true. Somebody asked about the Spotify library. Check my GitHub. It's in really good shape at the moment. It's usable, like 100% usable. I haven't built anything with it yet. I have my tiny Pico shield out here that I want to use to build something with it. I also I mentioned on Twitter that I'm thinking about building a new board for the Spotify library. That's going to be based on this ST7789 screen, which is super nice. Can I get the artwork? You can get the picture. Like, is in the URL of the picture comes back. I don't currently parse it, but it's on my to-do list. And I don't know exactly how to get an image onto this screen, but we'll figure it out. Yeah, if I spent 3 or 4 hours, like, that's yeah, the ESD discussions. I've gotten a couple of suggestions on the ESD discussions, so I want to go look them up. But these screens are amazing. Like, these are $2 or €2 or whatever it is. They're super nice. So I want to make one of these with 2 rotary coders, one on either side. One probably for volume, the other probably for menu, and then maybe 3 buttons down the bottom for maybe left, right, and play and pause. That I was going to go with 4 buttons, but the problem with 4 buttons was I'm out of pins on the tiny Pico if I go for 4 buttons, as far as I know, because two rotary encoders use 6 pins. This screen uses 5 pins if you've the backlight controlled by a pin. Now I don't know if you need that. Maybe a switch would do that. So that's 11 pins. You could do a resistor divider, yeah, but if you do a resistor divider, you don't get the you don't get to use interrupts, right? I presume. I don't know. What would you do with a 4th button, anyways? If you've left, right, and play and pause, I'm not sure what the 4th button would do, so I wasn't too bothered about losing it. And then 3 buttons, so that's 14 GPIO pins. They've got buttons on them too, Pete. So the rotary encoder part uses 2, and then the push button on the rotary encoder is its own pin. I'm not worried about it. I think that's fine, right? It's just, what else do I need the pins for? I may as well use all 14 of them. Yeah, Tiny Pico is 14, which is 6 and 5 and the 3 buttons. That's 14. It was funny. I saw your tweet, Sion, about the testing board for the Nano. Is that what it's called? Tiny Pico Nano? I was like, Tiny Pico Nano would be pretty nice for using as a shield or whatever, but nah, it's fine. Look, I don't need them. I don't. What do I need more pins for? If somebody gives me a compelling reason to have more pins or more buttons, I will do whatever. I'll do an I2C expander for the pins. I'll do whatever to get more buttons, but I don't think I'll need them. So maybe an I2C expander would be the way to go, because then you could attach I2C things. But sometimes I think we think too much about this stuff. Expansion, just build a different shield. Like, yeah, why? Let's just do it on a 555. I don't know. This will be a really specific shield that has its screen, has its 2 rotary encoders, and has its buttons, and then, yeah, and sleep. Arduino. Yeah, I guess, do I need to write a Spotify library for MicroPython? Nah. Should have used the 555. Just logic it. Look at you with your 555. Yeah, and I think it'll be nice. One thing I need to sort out is I need to sort out SMD headers. Because, like, if I use one of these screens, so I don't want to use this module, I want to use the screen. So that's going to be like metal at the back, so that would short things. So if you had a Tiny Pico there, it would just be short city. But I guess with a bigger shield, you could move the Tiny Pico off to a side or something. Yeah, I don't think it matters a huge amount using the SMD shields. But yeah, that's something. Yeah, SMD headers work fine, yeah. 10x 555s. I'm never going to use them either. Yeah, I feel like, well, it's probably pretty. It's probably okay to implement in MicroPython, having no experience with MicroPython. It's not a straightforward library. The auth flow is somewhat complicated. Yeah, I don't think it'll be disconnected a whole lot of times. I'll probably use a 2x10 header rather than a 2x1, just for the extra support. But yeah, so like you can see, Sion has the headers there underneath this, but his his OLED is on its own PCB. I'm going to try avoid that if I can. But he also fits something else under there. I'm not even sure what it is. Yeah. But yes, I will be using a tiny Pico for this project because battery life. The fact that it just has battery and it's small. Why not? Time is money, right? So, yeah. So I think maybe one of the next streams, yeah, it's the speaker, is it? I think one of the next streams, maybe the next stream, we might start prototyping this out. Do you want, a Pro S2? No, maybe, no. No. We probably can't even ship things to each other. I know I can't ship to you. So, yeah. I'm going to start prototyping it out anyways. Yeah, so like we can just breadboard it or whatever, because I think that'd be fun. And even like more than just a Spotify screen, like if you remember the HID Bluetooth video that I did a few months ago, lots of months ago, $49 express post, 6 weeks express post. I'll just make use of my tiny Picos. Yeah. What was I gonna say? So the HID BLE HID stuff that I did a while ago, like it could be used for that too. Like it could be pretty nice to have a thing that was connected to your PC with 2 rotary encoders, right? A couple of buttons. Like who knows? Put whatever you want on it, you know. But I think its main focus. I'm not going to make it really generic. I'm going to design it with the Spotify thing in mind, and if people want to use it for something else, they are more than welcome to it. Thanks, Photo Chromax. You're right though. It's time for me to go. Thanks for joining though. Okay. 25 minutes after I said I was going to finish up, I am actually going to finish up. Mark, I will send you an email before I go to bed. But thank you everybody for joining. I had a lot of fun. I'm glad this thing worked out. I think I'm gonna hold off making the order though to figure out what I want to do with regards ESD protection, because I think erring on the side of caution would be better. Pretty happy with the switch situation. The pointing in does make it awkward to press, which was what I wanted, but you can press it like using your own, hand or finger or whatever. So it's better than I thought it would be. So I think I'm going to keep it pointing in. Yeah. So, thank you everybody. I will, yeah, I'm like a little kid. No, I'm staying up. Okay, thanks everybody. I'll talk to you again. Appreciate it.